Are you really calm, or just good at faking it? Are you actually calm under pressure, or just really good at pretending you are? Because there's a big difference between being composed and being disconnected. Let me show you. 3 men in a crisis. One is yelling, trying to dominate the room. One is over-explaining, trying to sound in control. And one, he doesn't speak, doesn't flinch, just watches, still, sharp, cold. Guess who made the final decision? See, real power doesn't perform. It doesn't panic, and it never needs to prove itself. True calm isn't passive. It's precision under pressure. It's clarity in chaos. That's what the Stoics trained for. They weren't calm because life was soft. They were calm because their minds were sharp when nothing else was. Why staying calm is a strategic advantage. In chaos, people don't follow noise, they follow presence, and in any high-stress situation, the calmest person in the room is usually the one who ends up in control. But here's the truth, no one tells you. That calm isn't a personality trait. It's not just how someone is. It's a trained state, a forged discipline, and no one trained it harder than the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius didn't lead during peace. He led through plagues, through betrayal, through death and civil collapse. And he didn't scream. He didn't chase. He wrote, in a freezing military tent while the empire crumbled around him. He sharpened his mind in silence. Not to feel better, but to stay effective. Because when the world gets loud and pressure spikes, you don't need more motivation. You need mental armor. In this video, you'll learn how to build it, the Stoic way. Not through mantras, not through wishful thinking, but through 5 tactical practices designed to harden your calm and turn pressure into precision. Let's get into it. 1. Separate what you control. Eliminate the noise. Pressure doesn't just test your limits, it muddies them. Deadlines, criticism, uncertainty, they don't show up one by one. They arrive like a wave, fast, heavy, chaotic. And before you even take a breath, you're already trying to fix everything at once. That's the trap. Because most people don't burn out from action, they burn out from trying to control what was never theirs. And this is where Stoicism starts. One clear, brutal line. Some things are up to us, others are not. Epictetus. It sounds simple until the storm hits. Until you're chasing approval, arguing with what's already happened, and carrying emotions that don't belong to you. You want control? Start by narrowing the battlefield. Next time the pressure spikes, don't act, audit. Ask yourself, what part of this is mine? Not what you feel, what you own. Because if you don't control it, you don't carry it. You can't control how they see you, what happens next, what's already been said, but you can control where your focus goes, how you show up. The next move you make, that is your field. Everything else, noise, static, sabotage, and most of your stress, it doesn't come from the event. It comes from resisting the fact that you can't control it. So here's your Stoic exercise. Draw the line every time. Literally, 2 columns. Left. Mine right, not mine. Then be ruthless. What's on the right? Delete it. Don't dwell. Don't justify. Let it go. Because clarity under pressure isn't about doing more. It's about knowing what to ignore. And once you build that filter, something powerful happens. The noise fades, the path sharpens, and decisions get cleaner. You've stopped reacting to chaos and started responding to reality. Now that we've cut the emotional clutter, let's go one step deeper. How do you mentally prepare before the storm even hits? Let's get into it. Second, Premeditatio Malorum. Expect chaos before it arrives. Most people crumble not because something bad happens, But because they thought it wasn't supposed to, they assumed things would go smoothly. They expected people to follow through. They believed effort guaranteed results. So when the punch comes, emotionally, financially, socially, they're stunned. Not just hurt, stunned. The Stoics had a word for that kind of illusion: weakness. Not because pain shouldn't affect you, but because surprise is a symptom of poor mental preparation. Seneca practiced a mental ritual called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning, he would ask himself, what could go wrong today? What's the worst that could happen? He wasn't trying to be negative. He was preparing to stay powerful, because the blow you rehearse doesn't break you, it sharpens you. Think about it. If you already ran the scenario in your mind, the loss, the betrayal, the failure, you don't flinch when it arrives. You've already mapped it. You've already made your move. So while everyone else is scrambling, you're executing. This is not toxic positivity. It's strategic realism. If you're launching something, assume it might fail. If you're leading someone, prepare for them to leave. If you're showing up in any space, personal or professional, know that people will disappoint you. And when they don't, great. But when they do, you won't be crushed. You'll be calm. This is how Marcus Aurelius led an empire under siege. It's how Seneca handled exile, public disgrace, and death with dignity. They trained for the worst, not to become cold, but to stay unshakable. When the future doesn't surprise you, you have the power to meet it with clarity, not fear. And from that mental stillness, you can act with precision. Now that your expectations are grounded in reality, let's take it further. Let's talk about what happens when you stop avoiding discomfort and start using it. Because mental toughness isn't built in comfort, it's built in controlled pain. 3. Voluntary discomfort. Train in pain before it's real. Everyone wants to be resilient until life gets uncomfortable. Then suddenly, the smallest inconvenience feels like a personal attack. The meeting ran late, the message wasn't replied to, the deal didn't close, and just like that, most people spiral. But here's what separates a Stoic from the average. They don't wait for hardship to toughen them. They go out and meet it, on purpose. Marcus Aurelius slept on the ground while he commanded armies. Seneca fasted, walked without guards, lived simply, despite being one of the richest men in Rome. Why? Because if you only operate at your best when everything is ideal, you're not powerful. You're dependent. Discomfort is the Stoic gym. You don't build control during ease. You build it by choosing a little difficulty every day, not to suffer, but to shrink the power of fear. Take a cold shower, not to punish yourself, but to remind your nervous system that it won't kill you. Walk instead of drive. Fast for a morning. Say no to something easy. Let people misunderstand you and don't correct them. You're not doing this to prove anything. You're doing it because when discomfort is no longer a threat, life stops being so heavy. And when real adversity does come, because it always does, you don't collapse. Because your system has already felt pressure, and it held. The Stoic isn't surprised by struggle. He's familiar with it. He knows its shape. He's felt it on his skin, in his gut, in his bones. So when others panic, he adjusts. And when others chase comfort, he sharpens. Because comfort never made anyone powerful. And discomfort, when chosen, is no longer a punishment. It's a weapon. Now, once you've trained yourself to stay composed in pain, the next challenge is subtler. How do you stay calm when others try to pull you into their storm? That's where silence becomes strategy. Let's go there. 4. Silence and observation. Don't react, just watch. In high-stress situations, people talk too much, they panic, they over-explain, they try to control the room by filling it with words. But the person who says the least usually knows the most. Silence isn't passivity, it's intelligence under pressure. It's the difference between reacting like everyone else and observing like the one who's still thinking. The Stoics understood that silence isn't just self-control, it's a tactical delay, a space where emotion can't hijack logic, a pause long enough to read the room, read the people, and read yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly, but spoke sparingly. He didn't lead through noise, he led through presence. Because the leader who doesn't react emotionally earns gravity. People lean in, not because they're told to, but because they feel something different. In practice, this means you train yourself to pause, especially when provoked. When someone attacks you verbally, when the pressure spikes, when the temptation to explain or justify shows up, don't. Let them talk. Let them reveal everything, while you sit back and collect information. And the longer you stay quiet, the more powerful your next move becomes. You don't owe the world an instant answer. You don't owe people access to your emotion just because they push for it. In fact, every time you refuse to react on demand, you take back the power they assumed they had. Silence is uncomfortable for most people. That's why it works. Because when you don't give them anything, no reaction, no confirmation, no emotional signal, they're forced to confront their own behavior, and in that stillness, you gain the upper hand. The Stoic doesn't chase control. He earns it by not competing in noise, and once you master silence, the final step is making sure your clarity holds, even when your motivation doesn't. Let's talk about that next. 5. Discipline under collapse. Don't wait for motivation. In high-pressure moments, people don't just lose focus. They lose their habits. They wait for the feeling to return, for the fog to clear, for motivation to come knocking like a savior. I'll start again when I feel better. I just need a break. I'm burned out. And sure, sometimes that's real, but more often than not, that's avoidance wearing self-care like a mask. The Stoics never waited to feel ready. They built systems that didn't care how they felt. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up inspired. He woke up to betrayal, sickness, collapsing empires. But still, he wrote, still led, still executed. Not because he was in the mood, because he was committed. That's the Stoic definition of discipline, acting on principle, especially when emotion says don't. It's not about grinding harder. It's not about force. It's about becoming reliable to yourself, no matter the internal weather. Real Stoic discipline, it's not loud, it's not cinematic, it's surgical, cold, predictable. Here's the hard truth. If you only move when you feel like it, you've already surrendered control. You're not the driver, you're the passenger. But if you act because it's who you are, even when tired, overwhelmed, angry, you become untouchable, not perfect, predictable. That means you write when the noise is loud. You show up when energy is gone. You stay composed when emotion begs for release, and you do it again tomorrow, without praise, because in high stress, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the strength of your systems. And if that system is built on mood, chaos will break you. But if it's built on clarity and code, chaos just sharpens you. So here's your move. Build rules you don't break. Set behaviors that don't need a feeling, and become the kind of person whose discipline doesn't flinch, even when everything else does. Now that you've locked in this final piece, let's bring it all together. This isn't theory, it's wartime strategy. Let's wrap it up, clean, sharp, and ready. Let's set the record straight. Stoic calm isn't softness, it's not passivity, and it's definitely not some trendy mindfulness hack to make you feel better. It's power, cold, quiet, calculated. It's the difference between falling apart and falling into focus. Because when the world tightens around you, deadlines stack up, emotions rise, people disappoint you, you have one moment, one decision. Will you react like everyone else, or will you respond like no one else? You now hold 5 weapons for that moment. You've learned to separate what's yours to control and leave the rest. You've trained your mind to rehearse chaos before it hits. You've made discomfort your gym, not your excuse. You've practiced stillness, so silence becomes your strength. And you've committed to discipline, even when nothing in you feels ready. That's not inspiration, that's a system. And systems don't crack under stress, they operate. So next time pressure comes for you, you won't flinch, you won't chase, you'll execute, because power in chaos doesn't belong to the loudest voice. It belongs to the clearest mind. And when your calm is built, sharpened, and tested, it's not just admirable, it's lethal. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. What's one situation you're going to face differently now that you've got these tools? If this recentered you, hit like. If you're done letting stress dictate your behavior, subscribe. And if you're ready to command a room without saying a word, click the next video. We'll show you exactly how Stoics earn respect, silently. Because mastering your mind is one thing. Mastering a room with nothing but your presence, that's the next level. Let's build that together.